Everyone tells you to stay calm under pressure. What nobody tells you is why calm terrifies people. Not the calm of someone who doesn't care. The other kind. The kind that sits in a burning room and doesn't flinch. The kind that watches you raise your voice and simply waits. That stillness is not peace. It is pressure, turned inward, compressed, made sharp. You've been taught that urgency signals importance, that speed signals power, that the man who reacts fastest wins. You've been taught wrong. The man who cannot be rushed cannot be controlled. And in a world that profits from your panic, stillness is not a virtue. It is a weapon. Today you're going to learn exactly how to use it. In the winter of 49 AD, a freed slave named Epictetus sat in Rome and wrote something no emperor had ever put into words. He had been owned, beaten, his leg broken deliberately by a master testing his limits, and yet nothing broke where it counted. His master increased the pressure. Epictetus looked at him, calm, unhurried, and said, "You are going to break it." Not a plea. Not a performance. A statement of fact, delivered from a place so still it made the man holding power feel small. That is the thesis of everything you are about to hear. Stillness is not the absence of force. It is force held, deliberate, waiting. A mind at peace with uncertainty carries no loose edges for the world to grab. And the world needs those edges to control you. Remove them, and you become uncontrollable. Law 1. The first man to react has already lost. Think about the last argument that went sideways. Not the words. The moment before, someone applied pressure, a tone, a silence, and you felt it. That pull in your chest, that need to respond immediately. That pull is the leash. Every time you react on instinct, you hand the other person the thread. They tug, you move. Epictetus called this the discipline of desire, the trained ability to place a gap between stimulus and response. Not suppression. A gap. A beat of deliberate silence where you choose what happens next. In practice, when someone pressures you for an answer, don't fill the silence. Let it sit. Let them sit in it. You will watch something shift in their eyes. But what happens when you use that gap not just to wait, but to see? That's where it gets interesting. Law 2. Composure is information gathering. Most people think stillness is defensive, a way of protecting yourself from being read. That's half true. The deeper function is almost predatory. When you go still, the people around you keep moving. They fill the silence. They over-explain. They reveal their anxiety, their agenda. Because your composure made the room uncomfortable, and discomfort makes people talk. Grant understood this. Before the siege of Vicksburg, his generals were panicking, arguing, running hot with competing urgency. Grant sat quietly, read the maps, said almost nothing. His stillness wasn't absence of thought. It was the most intense thinking in the room, happening invisibly. He made his decision. He was right. Practical application. In your next high-stakes conversation, observe twice as long as you speak. You will leave knowing more than anyone else in that room. But observation alone isn't enough. There is something counterintuitive you must do with urgency itself. Law 3. Urgency is a manipulation. Treat it like one. Urgency is the oldest pressure tool in existence. Decide now. Answer me. We don't have time. And it works. Because under artificial time pressure, the brain stops thinking about what is true and starts thinking about what is fast. This is the mechanism behind every bad decision you've made under pressure. Not stupidity, manufactured speed. Marcus Aurelius wrote in the Meditations to resist the phantom, the impression that arrives before you've examined it. Don't act on the impression. Interrogate it. When someone creates urgency around you, ask one quiet question in your own mind. Who benefits from my rushing? Almost always the answer is, not you. The man who cannot be hurried cannot be stampeded. And a man who cannot be stampeded is genuinely intimidating, not because he is aggressive, but because he is immovable. And yet, immovability without direction is just another word for stagnation. Law 4. Stillness is not hesitation, wearing a mask. Here is the trap that ruins every principle in this video if you misread it. Stillness becomes cowardice when it is used to avoid. The man who never reacts because he fears conflict is not composed, he is paralyzed. The distinction lives in the body, not the behavior. Loaded stillness feels like pressure behind the sternum, contained energy, not absence of energy. It is the archer at full draw, the spring compressed. Nothing is moving, because everything is ready. Fear stillness feels hollow. It has no direction. Epictetus drew this line clearly. The Stoic does not refuse to engage. He refuses to engage badly. He chooses when, how, and at what cost. From clarity, not avoidance. Practical test. When you sit still in a hard moment, ask yourself honestly, am I gathering force, or am I hiding? One of those makes you dangerous. The other makes you forgettable. But there is one moment when stillness pays off with a force no one expects, and it involves time. Law 5. Patience is compound interest on clarity. Everyone respects speed, the quick response, the fast decision. Culture has built a mythology around this, and that mythology keeps most people reactive and predictable. Seneca wrote that most of what destroys a man's life never required his participation. He simply reacted, moved toward things that didn't need his energy, into conflicts that didn't need his presence. The patient man conserves. He guards his attention, his words, his decisions. He does not scatter himself across every provocation, and then, when the moment is right, when the landscape is clear, he moves with everything he has been saving. This is why composed men seem to win suddenly, out of nowhere. They don't. They were building the whole time, quietly, without announcement. But patience requires something most people have never truly practiced, and it lives not in the mind, but somewhere more fundamental. Here is the turn. Everything so far has framed stillness as something you build for yourself. Clarity, patience, composure, force. But here is what you didn't see coming. Your stillness changes other people, not because you are trying to manipulate them, because composure is contagious in reverse. Panic escalates. It recruits. It needs witnesses. But stillness absorbs. A truly composed person in a room of anxious ones doesn't just protect himself. He slowly, without a word, begins to regulate the room. The people who most want to provoke you, to rush you, to destabilize you, they need your reaction to validate their own internal chaos. When you don't give it to them, they are left alone with themselves. That is not cruelty. That is clarity. And it is the most powerful thing a still man can do. So, here is what you walk away with. Stillness is not about being unmoved by life. It is about choosing what moves you, and when, and how much. The man who can sit with discomfort without filling the silence, who absorbs pressure without distributing it, who waits without losing his intention. That man is not passive. He is the most dangerous person in the room, not because he wants to be, because he has nothing to prove, no reaction to sell, no urgency to perform. Find the one moment today where you would normally react fast, and don't. Sit in the gap. Breathe, observe, then decide. Do that enough times, and you don't just think differently. You become someone who cannot be controlled. And that is the whole point.